Amen.
Woohoo! So, brother, it's so
Yeah.
good to have you on today. And hey, before we jump into everything, bro, just tell us a little bit about yourself, what you're doing right now with yourself, your family, and
Yeah.
all the rest of it. So, why don't you just start there?
Hey, what's up, everyone? First and foremost, I'd like to give praise and glory to our Father in heaven. I guess, just with the opportunity to come and share His word and share His journey and His testimony. So, about myself. I'm born and raised in Auckland, Avondale. Been there for 16 years, and then was lucky enough to get an opportunity to go do the rest of my schooling at Kibra Park in the Gold Coast, to go and chase the dream of being a rugby league player. You get to you do it for full-time job pretty much. Spent 2 years over there, moved to Sydney. Met up with my wife that is now. She became pregnant at the age of 19. What else? Had to, kind of go from 0 to 100 real quick. Just, be able to, look for a job. Put the dream of playing rugby league on hold. It wasn't all about myself anymore. I had to provide for, someone else. So, 2 more people. So that was my partner and my daughter now, Karen Edis. So it was just pretty much in the wilderness, pretty much just trying to chase something that that was pretty hard, I guess. There was a lot of sacrificing that I had to do. So I was getting into work. Then after work, had to go to training. But yet I was still, how would you say, just still connected to the world pretty much. Just still wanted, the piece of the world. So I think that's something that, that I've been blessed with and come a long way with in that kind of sense. So, so I was just, still wanting to go out, wanting to party, wanting to, drink, wanting to kind of, smoke and everything else, from the age of 19, 20, 21 as well. I was doing the same thing, still chasing. My wife fell pregnant again with my second child around that age. And then, 23, still chasing it. 24, same thing. It's not until I went over to France and just so I was pretty much at rock bottom, what I mean, with everything. I grew up never knowing who God was. I didn't have no relationship pretty much. My family, we never went to church. So my family is quite different actually, coming from an islander family. As you can see that, with a lot of islander families, they've been installed, with the culture and the religious, with, coming into church and that, but not my family. So my family was just do as you please, pretty much. We never went to church on Sundays. What else was there? I saw a lot that happened, with my parents as well. I just done whatever I wanted, until I moved out of home. So it's not until I moved over to France and I was with my wife and she was my partner at that time, you know what I mean? And, I was still doing the things of the world pretty much, just still doing things that was appealing to the flesh, And then it came to a moment where, all my things that happened in the darkness come to light. And, man, it was a foretelling time for myself. So, it all came to the light, and my wife was about to leave. My partner at the time was about to leave me. She was going to leave with the kids, and at that time I was lost. I was, I was at a time where, I didn't know what to do. You know what I mean? I had no one. And then, she left with the kids, and it was just me, and I started playing a bit of worship, praise and worship, and then I started praying and I started breaking down, and I was like, man, look, enough's enough, eh? You know what I mean? Like I've walked so long on my own, and at that time for me it was just the time where I was just like, oh, hang on a minute, okay, sweet, like you've done it your way pretty much now it's time for me to come in and, you know, and you know, do it my way. And, you know, and for me, it was the beginning of a journey. You know, I wasn't perfect at that time. And, you know, everyone's journey is different, and that's what I'm grateful and I'm blessed that, you know, my journey with my father is, you know, between me and him, and that's what I enjoy the most. That, you know, it's specifically made between, like, you know, everything. It's not the same as everyone else, and that's what I love about this journey. And, you know, he's pruned me into the person I am today, and bro, you know, I'm humbled about it, you know, and I still give him praise and all the glory for it, man, because it does belong to him. And, you know, I honor him in everything that, you know, I do. So, yeah, man, and then it's just went from there, man. So ever since then, like, you know, like, I was in France, man, but everything just started shifting in a way where, you know, for me, kind of showed me, like, hang on a minute, like, he was there with me the whole time. You know, it was just a matter of me, you know, getting in touch with it, you know, knowing that, hang on a minute, like, this is where my faithfulness is going to start to test me. So I was in France, you know, I was on my way home from France, but we had no money, so I didn't have, you know, enough money to book our flights home and that. So, but, you know, the thing was that he showed up, as, you know, like, you know, through his perfect, you know, love that, you know, I was lucky enough, you know, I made friends in that on the way, you know, they helped me. So, you know, they gave me the money to, you know, be able to book my wife and myself, you know, a flight back to New Zealand. When I went back home to New Zealand, I mean, to Australia, sorry, when I went back to Australia, sorry, man, we didn't have a place, you know, but then, you know, everything just fell in, like, you know, like, it was like we didn't know what was happening there. So we went back to our old place, you know, where Linda's mum, you know, was holding on for us. You know, when she was in New Zealand, but she was holding on to a place for us in Australia, so we can have a place to come to. I had no job. I had no footy team to go to, and then, you know, my old club, you know, they asked me to come back to them. It was about a 2.5 hour, like, trip to where I had to go, but it is what it is, you know what I mean. But in that 2.5 hours, you know, I took it as it come. Yeah, so you know, it was traveling, you know, about 2.5 hours there, 2.5 hours back. So, but in that 2.5 hours, you know, it got me to a point where, hang on a minute, like, this is the time for me to read. This is the time for me to, you know, to fellowship with, you know, with my Father in heaven. And, man, and then that's when I started reading, you know what I mean. I started praying, and I started to, you know, have this relationship with him. And yeah, man, so it was just pretty much walking in faith, pretty much, you know. And then, you know, I think, you know, the thing was that I was a bit older at that time. I was about 24, about 25. And, you know, at the club that I was at, Wyong, we were in feeder to no one there, and I was thinking, fuck, man, you know, what in our club would want, you know, 25, 24-year-old fella, you know. So I played that season, you know, come to round 26, I think the last game, I broke my arm. So I got injured. Yeah, I broke my arm, and I was thinking, fuck, man, hang on a minute, like, you know, like, now it makes it even harder for myself, you know, broken arm, you know, older player, you know, and all these young fellas come here, you know, you either have to have a couple of NRL games, or you have to be a young, you know, fresh up and coming fella, you know, coming through. And then, you know, I left it at that, you know, but you know, for me, mine was, I still continued to train, you know what I mean, you know, while everyone was still on Mad Mondays, you know, and lapping it up, and, you know, with their holidays and that, you know, we have about a span of 8 weeks of off season where, you know, you just go on holiday, just relax, you know, let your head down. But, you know, in my heart, you know, I just thought, oh, you know, I just got to continue to work hard and continue to, you know, just grind it out, you know what I mean? So, at that time, I had no job. You know, we were pretty much living off my wife. They call it Centrelink over there. So it's like probably like wins, you know. So we were living off that pretty much. So I was like, man, $300 a week, pretty much. yeah. So, um, man, struggle was real. So it was just pretty much tuna, rice every day, tuna and rice every day, man. So tuna and rice, yeah, pretty much every day, and then, um, but well, it was a time of blessing for myself. You know what I mean? I continued to train. I continued to, do all the things that I needed to do to be ready. And then the day before preseason, I got a call from my manager, and I was like, "Oh, look, the Roosters want to take you for, for training trial." Training trial at the Roosters. I'm like, "Oh, bro," and I was like, "Man, look, man, I'm ready, man." Like, while everyone was on holiday, I was grinding. You know what I mean? So, yeah, and turn up to that preseason. Probably one of probably one of the best shapes that I, and left it all in the tank over there. And then, yeah, so I done a whole, off season at the Roosters, and then done a half a year at Wyong. Done a whole year at Wyong. Then was lucky enough and blessed to get an opportunity to get a 2-year contract with the Gold Coast Titans, and that's where I made my debut. And then next thing you know, I'm back home in New Zealand. With pretty much my 4th child on the way.
Well, that's exciting, man. Hey, I want to go back to those 8 weeks, bro. There were moments. You had moments, bro, where you're grinding away. There was a dream, there was a goal. Man, you had your back against the wall. I mean, your family. You guys are living off tuna and rice. The struggle is real. But bro, take me back and just talk me through what's going through your mind. How did you overcome the doubt, the fears? Man, just help us unpack that. So for those who are watching, they can be encouraged and go, okay, I know that place. Okay, if I follow what I was doing. Yeah. So tell us about that.
I think, the thing was for me that before that happened, the miracles already started happening for me. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and I go, shucks, if he could bring me through that, then surely he can bring me through this. You know what I mean? And I was thinking, man, you know what I mean? But even I think that's for me, that's, as I was saying before, before I said, oh, look, before I started this journey with God, you know what I mean? I felt that he was putting me through these things, you know what I mean? So when it does come to times like this, I can remember and start to, stretch my faith pretty much and just walk with him. So, bro, like, you know what I mean? I guess, tough times, but I guess, the thing is that, it was a lot of sacrifices, and that had to be put into place. I guess, if for me, I think there was a lot, that was there as well. Like, you know what I mean? I guess, being a footy player is not easy. For us, everyone would be in there. So, yeah.
So good. I mean, it comes at a cost. It comes at a price, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But let's just change lanes for it, because I think in our previous discussions, you talked about some of the moments you've had with other players, with their families, just being able to share your faith with them. Now, that's, when I hear you share those stories, man, your face lights up. So maybe start from the time, being at the Titans, and then even with the Warriors, kind of like what has the Lord been stirring in your heart as you've been kind of sharing your faith with those other families there?
You want everyone to witness and feel that, the love of Jesus Christ. He, for me, it's because I read the story of how he, went to the cross, and he was a true leader. You know what I mean? He was humble. He was, everything that he done was for a purpose. And, I think, just going through this life, you see that, people, situation, everything changes, but not our Father. He's the same yesterday, today, and forever. And, for me, it's, I like to share, who Jesus is, what he is. And, for me, is, when you open up that Bible and you really dig deep into to what he did and the purpose that he did come for. You know what I mean? He was persecuted. He felt everything that we felt. You know what I mean? And even more, he got taken to the cross for the purpose of saving the people that might come to him. You know what I mean? So he didn't do it for. What I love about it is that that I think not everyone will come to him, but it's for the chance of everyone to take up their cross and be able to come to him and to give us this eternal life, to follow a king who was righteous, follow a king who come to save those who wants to be saved. You know what I mean? And man, I love about it, man. I love everything about it, man. It just
let's talk about some challenges that we
oh
face.
yeah.
We all face challenges, bro. And but in terms of your industry, in terms of what you're doing in your lane, like, talk to us about some of the challenges, but then also back it up with how did the Lord direct you through that?
Yeah, oh man, I think, man, I've had so much challenges, man, especially being in the NRL, man, man, heaps. So, it's so, there's some that, man, I just go, shucks, man, why am I going through this? Man, I must be doing something wrong, you know what I mean? But, all praise and glory to God, man. I go through those, you know what I mean? I go through those challenges, I look at them, as you've said before, I look at them I've heard in your sermons and that, when you look at the Father, he does things, just to protect us, just to, because he knows us more than we know ourselves, you know what I mean? So he knows how we're going to react. He knows how we're going to take every situation. And, for me, it's at the time, man, bro, it's hard, man. It's hard, eh? Yeah, and you know yourself, it's hard, but you think, man, why am I going through this? Why? Well, you know what I mean? But then when you look down the track and then when you come through the storm and you think, shucks, you know what? I'm so glad that it happened to me because my Father was looking at the best interests for myself, you know what I mean? And that's where you give the glory and the praise. I think for me, mine was, so I come to New Zealand, you know what I mean? I come to New Zealand, I come to the Warriors, I relish the dream of playing NRL, I think for me, the reason why I left New Zealand was because I wasn't getting a look at, the junior systems at the Warriors, you know what I mean? I remember my dad approached one of the, when I was 15 or 16 at the time, he goes, oh, look, here's this fella here, pointing to my son, have a look at him, mate, he's going to be good. And they turned around, nah, you know what I mean? So, the reason why I left New Zealand and I come back and then be able to put on that jersey. And, I was lucky enough to debut round one, you know what I mean? First, 2018, I was a part of, a team to make history, to win, 5 games in a row. And when I come back, you know what I mean, I was starting to hit the peak of my career. You know what I mean? I was coming into a team. I was starting. You know what I mean? I was starting to, I was starting over the. I was starting over the likes of, Simon Manning, and it's probably one of the best, New Zealand players to play. You know what I mean? The Warriors players to play, and I was like, I started to feel good about myself. Started to feel good about everything that was happening, and I was like, man, shucks, this is awesome. This is me, and then, round 6 came. I broke my foot. At the peak, I broke my foot. I was out for 20 weeks. But I think for me and mine at that time, I think it was when I broke my foot, I went into one of the changing rooms, and bro, it was hard, bro. I kid you not, man, it was hard. I was like, man, why? But for me, mine was just a testing of my faith. You know what I mean? Mine was like, look, you're still my God, and I will still honor and worship you. You know what I mean? And yeah, bro. So I was off for 20 weeks. You know what I mean? Was a time of testing for myself. You know what I mean? And then I come back. round 20, played the rest of the year, but I was coming off the bench. And then 2019 was a fresh start, and I was, hoping and expecting for, bigger and greater things. But then I broke my foot again, and then it all happened again. Yeah, man. So, I broke my foot again, through a pre-season, and then I got put at the back of the pecking order. And then 2019 was a year where, I set goals of the worldly things, so before I broke my foot, I was setting goals of the worldly things, or things that are according to my own will. Yeah, like, playing NRL, you're starting, gonna make the Kiwis and everything else, but I forgot to put in, strengthen my relationship with God. And, it was, for me, it was, I'm glad it happened, bro. Like, looking down the track where I'm at now, I'm glad it happened, because it showed me, you know what I mean, that, hang on a minute, like, you know what I mean, like, see what happens, when I start to kind of do things my own way, you know what I mean, when I start to do things accordingly to my will. And 2019 wasn't the greatest of years, you know what I mean. I was told by a lot of people, that I'm not playing the greatest, you know what I mean. I got put, there was a lot of pressure that was put on me, playing footy. And I was told a lot of things. I remember at one stage I was like, I couldn't handle it, man. I was breaking down, man. I wasn't enjoying myself. Man, I'll go to my wife, and on the outside, man, I look happy as, you know what I mean. But man, mentally, man, I was broken, man. I was broken, man. I was so broken where God saw my heart. He saw everything in my heart that was like, he knew that, you know what I mean, that I wasn't in the right shape of mind, you know what I mean. I'd go home, I'll go to training, happy, happy as, I was putting on a smile, on the outside, but then deep down inside, I'll go home and I'll go to my wife, and like, man, I'd break down, man. I'd cry, man. I'd be like, man, babe, like, man, I'm putting, like, I'm doing everything that I can, I'm doing extras, I'm eating right, you know what I mean. There was everything in my possible hand to be in that team, you know what I mean. I'd sacrifice a lot of things, and I'd question myself, how come I'm not in there? And then, I come to this year, and then I think, looking back at it now, I've been blessed, you know what I mean. As I was saying before, God knew me more than I knew myself. And, for me to know that, hang on a minute, if I did go down that track, of making the Kiwis, being put in the spotlight, all this fame, would I have still honored the Lord and worship him the same? You know what I mean? And I think to myself, hang on a minute, like, I'm grateful that, everything does happen for a reason, you know what I mean? And that the God that I worship is a sovereign God, and he has made a plan for me, you know what I mean? And as I was saying before, that, my Father knows me, he's here to protect me. So, I'm grateful in that kind of sense, you know what I mean? And like, hang on a minute, like, would I have worshipped him the same? Would I have still continued to take myself off my throne and continue to put him on that throne and do his will? So for me, it's like he's protected me in that kind of sense, you know what I mean? Where like now I've grown biblically and knowing and his character and knowing his love, his sovereignness, and things that that it's more clearer to me now for my will in my life, for the will that he wants in my life, and is to produce the fruits, you know what I mean. So yeah. So
I love how you mentioned to produce the fruits of the
yeah.
Spirit. Right? Man, that passage is so overlooked, man. But it's so
Yeah, yeah,
right? I was talking to somebody this morning about it. Like, I may be strong in perseverance, in the fruit of perseverance,
yeah.
but man, I think I probably need a bit more work in gentleness, kindness. You know,
Yeah,
you know
yeah,
what I'm
yeah,
saying?
yeah,
Oh,
yeah, yeah,
suffering,
yeah,
but man, like when those fruits are being developed in your life, hey, man, powerful,
yeah,
bro. So tell
yeah.
us a bit more about that concept about the Lord developing the fruits of the Spirit in you.
Yeah, man, like, when you become a Christian and everything, man, like, you want to do the will of the Father, you know what I mean? So, when you start looking and then you start opening up the Bible and you start reading it and then you start, asking the Father to reveal himself to you, to reveal his, everything about him, his character and everything. And, you know, and then he starts to reveal, the fruits, love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. And and it all, for me, it all plays a big part. You know what I mean? Like, there's more in life where you can work on. I can love more. I can be more joyful in every situation. Not every situation is going to be how I like it, but I can hold peace in the word. You know what I mean? Patience, bro. That's what I struggle the most. When for me, my mine is like, shucks, man. I like to see things there and then. But sometimes, for me, the Father's teaching. Hey, hang on a minute. Like, do you trust me? Do you trust in everything that I have before you? Like, if you trust me, then you will have patience in the situation. Kindness, you know what I mean? Kindness, I've learned that, you know, bro, the hardest is, bro, is when you get persecuted by your enemies, man. That's so hard, bro. Hey, like, and especially in the game that I have, and I'm in, bro, you have a lot of enemies, man, like where they're your friends, on your face, but behind your back, they stab you, bro. So for me, is showing actual kindness, bro. It's praying. Perfect. So he helps me, man. Like, I still go through my struggles too, man. But
Yeah.
I'm just glad and I'm happy for the word and the Bible, man. So I continue to pray and I continue to for those, man, to read the Bible, man, bro, it helps, bro. It helps, like, you go through times, there's times where, the flesh is like, bro, you do this, bro, just give it to your flesh. But then the other thing is you feel the Holy Spirit come in and they come in with the word, like, then you think, man, I don't want to do it because the word's telling me not to, man. and then for, the desires of the flesh is like, it just goes, like, for me personally, like, I had vulnerable times, where I'm like, man, so, the flesh is like, telling me to do these things, but then, I got this, Jesus, um, Jesus coming to me, I read through Matthew, Jesus saying, man, depart from me, I never knew you. And, man, there was the fear of the Lord coming into me. Like, man, I don't want to do this, man. I don't want to do this, man. No, not because, but it's because it's the fear of the Lord, man.
Yeah.
After that, I was like, oh, yeah.
And so would you say that would be one of the ways that people can cope with disappointment is to hold on to his promises, to trust that God is
Yeah.
the same, you know?
Yeah.
So that would be one of the ways. Can you give us a couple more ways that you would be able to cope with disappointment with people talking behind your back?
Yeah.
What would be some other things that really have helped you, bro, overcome disappointment?
Yeah. Yeah, funny you say that, man. It's not funny, but for me, mine is like, I like to as I was saying, hold on to his promise. And when you start to think heavenly, you know what I mean? When you start to think, hang on a minute, his kingdom, you start to think, hang on a minute, like disappointment here on earth, you know what I mean? It is what it is, you know what I mean? And it happens, you know what I mean? I think, you can go to, I was reading Ecclesiastes, a couple of weeks ago, and it was talking about chasing the wind, you know what I mean? With earth, it's a big smoke, and like, with everything in earth, it looks appealing, but it's, you know what I mean, it's nothing that you can grab or hold on to, you know what I mean? As for God's word and as for the kingdom of Jesus Christ, that you can hold on to that. So, you know, there's going to be a lot of disappointment, you know, and there's going to be a lot of times where you think that things are unfair. But when you think heavenly and when you think of his kingdom, and you know that eternally, that when you are there, like, you know what I mean, for this lifespan that we live, it's only for a while. But for his kingdom, is, man, that's for me. That's why what I always refer back to, man. It's like, man, his kingdom, I like his, you know, his the eternal life. You know, come, you know, if, you know that. You know, once you give your life to Jesus Christ, and once you you know, get into this journey and this walk with him, that, you know, he's made a new body for you. You know, so obviously there's going to be trials and tribulations in this life that we have. But, you know, just know that it stays in the Bible as well, that God's made a new body for you. So when you leave this body, you go to a new body. And, man, and that's where we'll all be clapping, you know, cheering, we'll be all praise and worship, you know, and just, you know, being with our Father. And that's what excites me the most, man. It's like, man, that's what I want to go to. And that's where I want my family to go to. And that's where I want everyone to know that, man, there's a place of promise, and that's, you know, that's the kingdom of heaven.
Is the Lord stirring in your heart for this time ahead? Now, we're just changing lanes slightly, but what is the Lord stirring in you now? What's the Lord stirring in your heart? What do you feel the Lord stirring in your life right now?
Just being able to you know, more for my children, you know, go home and make disciples of my children first. You know, be a father to my children, man. You know, I think, you know, for us as, you know, as me as a parent, you know, mine is, you know, I can go out there and evangelize to everyone, but if my backyard's not right, you know what I mean? Like, you know, I have to go home and be able to, you know, install the promises that God's given to me, to my children. And, you know, if I leave, you know, I've left everything that I can to possibly get them prepared. So when the next time that I see them, you know, I'm introducing them to the Father, like, man, look, remember I told you on earth that, look, you know, Jesus is real. Look, he's here. Like, you know what I mean? Like, did you do what I told you? You know what I mean? Did you, like, you know, everything that I told you? And I guess for us as parents, you know, that's, you know, we, what I've learned is that, you know, with me and my kids, you know, I can disappoint them so many times, but they still look at us as heroes. And, you know, for me, you know, like, if I don't take this time and this opportunity to show them, you know, the love of Jesus Christ, and let them go on their own journey and show them that, that God is real, and that, you know, whatever is that Jesus is the only, you know, he's the way, the truth, and the life, and he's the only way, you know, you can come to the Father. And, you know, if I don't install that right to them, I feel like my job's not done properly. You know what I mean? So that's where I'm at right now, is just being able to install everything that I can, and just be able to go home, love my children, yet instruct the ways of the Father into their lives, and be able to share with them, and just you know, as I was reading too through Matthew as well, you know, building the foundation on the rock. You know what I mean? And Jesus is my rock, so I want to be able to build my family on him.